Hey guys, Mike here. So finally got a little bit of a sell down at the end of the day after we just grinded all night up, which surprised a lot of people, including myself, on the indexes. So we go into the S&P. I'll show you what I'm looking for. Also the IWM. Something interesting happening on the IWM, which I think I talked about Monday, and so we'll talk about that as well as a few other stocks. But you might have noticed one sector which just continues to be on fire, and I have a channel, so I have to talk about it. Again, I would never buy these stocks long term because I don't trust this government, but you have to recognize what is happening. And so that's why I've been covering it for weeks or months on end and stuff. And it's going to be one reason this set of stocks is going up is because of what got released yesterday and surprised probably a lot of people. And you might have noticed, like BABA, for example, which was massively down, end up having a huge day today. And again, we'll get into the main reasons why, okay? There's a couple of them. But again, you know, massive breakout on this. When you pull up the volume profile on this thing, you can see right there. I mean, if it can get above like 90, you know, it starts heading up like this right here. And we go to the weekly, you see this huge volume gap because why? The stock was destroyed. Its own government absolutely destroyed this stock. Okay, so if it gets up in there, yeah, it's going to absolutely fly like crazy. Why? Because you can see it. When a stock crashes like this right here, you get these voids in the volume profile, which is where the massive amount of volume comes in to buy and stuff, right? So when it gets in these little pockets, it can move up very fast, down very fast. I've showed it to you many times. But you can see also, I think it was Benzinga or somebody right here, was just pushing this, and they got like a B of A upgrade and everything, even though, you know, it's a $103 price target, I believe it is. And so that was a big one. Plus you had Baidu report. I believe JD reported as well. But the bigger reason is you had these really rich folks comes out, like a Michael Burry, and you know they loaded up on JD, Baidu, BABA, right? And so they added quite a bit of shares on this, so they hold a lot of it. But it was multiple Chinese stocks, right? If you look over at another, this guy's a billionaire. He owns the Carolina Panthers. David Tepper, right? He ends up loading up on BABA and PDD and Baidu and some others. And we start to scroll down here, you'll see. So again, this is the first quarter. So they could have already sold, right? Could have already sold for sure. There's no doubt about that. So it's 45 days behind. But they got in the first quarter. And some of these had already been holding, right? But we know they added there. We also know the Saudi Arabia's, I think it's some kind of fund they have, which has just a lot of money in it. You know, they end up buying Alibaba and JD.com as well. And I want you to take a minute to listen to this lady about the flows that's happening in China, because it's not quite matching up with what's happening to the stocks. And I'm also going to share a stock with you, which I actually talked about with members that hadn't even joined the party yet. And you'll know the stock very well.
There's a lot of Chinese funds. FXI is actually fourth best performer. So for folks on mobile, you're going to have to squint a little bit. Top performers, KTEC. Boat is right behind it, and then KWeb, then FXI. Tell me about the first two. You've got Boat circled on here. Why is that?
Because it's the outliers, the only non-China fund among the best performing ETFs in recent
So China's
weeks.
got 3 out of 4 of the top.
They got 12 out of 13 at the top.
Wow.
All China ETFs.
That's incredible.
They are just running this show. It's the China showtime.
And the flows don't match up with the performance right now?
Not yet. I think we've seen like maybe $300 million go into Asher, which is mainland stocks. We're seeing, $50 million here and there. They're just starting to come in. But I think it's just people have been really burned. They've been really disappointed. I mean, it's a long period for China to underperform. And so I think this might just take a little bit of time for people to warm up.
And so again, why do these billionaires buy in? Why maybe you're going to see more funds roll in? Because they saw this stuff going on, right? They saw HSI about to bust out these long-term trend lines. They saw BABA line up. They knew if the index busted out, that was going to happen, right? They always try to get ahead of where the bottom is so they can make their money. And they've made a lot of money. Again, they may have already cashed out, right? Baidu, which didn't have the greatest earnings, still breaks out of the trend line, retested it. So now it's sitting right there. Still seeing if it can break out even more. And again, look at this. This is actually a lot different. It crashed down and then just stayed in a range like for 3 years. Okay. So this one's definitely still in stage 1. PDD is in a whole different area, right? This one right here has been moving up. People have been piling in this one for a while after it crashed because its earnings have been different. I believe it's a lower float stock, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it doesn't have as many shares outstanding. And again, so that trend line for it broke down beneath it. Now it's resistance as it moves back up. Another one, obviously, you got KWebs, the popular ETF, as they mentioned on there. Same kind of trend line, breakout, retest, explode, right? Now, one that hadn't even joined the party, JD.com. Look at this one. This trend line goes back to 2021, the beginning of it. Okay, so we're talking about 4 years almost, 3 years, 5 months, and it hadn't busted out yet. And that trend line coincides with what? What used to be resistance, they flipped to support, which flipped to resistance, which flipped to support, and now it's resistance again, right? Influence is everything. And so if that one starts to break out, right, and I don't think their earnings were as bad as Baidu's, then again, you saw what happened to the others, right? Now, would I be buying into this before it breaks out? No, I just don't front run these, especially China. I don't front run them. But, you know, when you look at this right here, again, it's regained all its moving averages. The 50 right there, as you can see, is the yellow one, crossed up over the 100, crossed over the 200. So momentum obviously is behind it. You can see the bottoming formation on this one. Again, I just don't front run, especially Chinese stocks. Not a chance in hell. But, you know, that's one to watch out for. Now, S&P, right? You can see sold down at the end of the day. Again, this is a daily fair value gap, right? And so this is where you got an imbalance between buyers and sellers. So you kind of wait for this to come down. We'll see what happens overnight. Did not even get close to coming down and testing the old all-time high that we broke yesterday. But, you know, again, when we try to look at this one, we'll bring up the relative strength index. We'll bring up the MACD. Let's get another fun thing in here. Let's go with stochastic. You know, we pull these up, see how this is looking with momentum, things of that nature, if it's overbought and all that good stuff. And you can see, I'm just going to pull them up. You know, it's reaching overbought territory. That does not mean it's going to sell down, right? Because this thing can be an overbought for a long period of time. The MACD looks okay right there with momentum. We're going to move that. So the stochastic RSI on the daily, you can see it's right there at the top. Normally, this is where you'll start to get, you know, turns over. So it's been going for a little bit. So momentum, when it gets up there, it can stay up there for quite a while. All right, if it starts to turn down, then that's when we know we probably get some kind of pullback. But right now, you see the RSI in the past has been much higher than this. Again, it can get up there and stay there for quite a while on the daily. And so, again, it's just something to be aware of, because remember how we were seeing this bearish diversion on the RSI forever, like for weeks upon weeks, and it kept going up and up and up and up. So, again, that's what we're going to pay attention to that one for. And, you know, if I basically get rid of this RSI here, you can see I put this rising wedge back in there, which is what it looks like to me. And so you can see we've obviously tapped it multiple times, bounced off of it, rejected off of it. And the top of it, let me zoom down on this thing right here, puts it, I believe, around 54.20 to 54.40, depending on where it would hit it as it moved up and stuff. Again, assuming we're going to the top first. And again, you pull some fibs up on this, that puts it right around the 1.5 fib, 1.618 is actually outside of that. If we continue to move up, I'm talking about like for the next few weeks and stuff, right? Now, pulling out the weekly, I always look at the stochastic on the weekly. We talked about this, right? You get that bullish cross, you're going to get a move up. We got the bullish cross. Would it be a fake out or not? So far, not a fake out, okay? So again, when this thing starts to move through and move to the top, you get big moves out over a number of weeks. So pay attention to that. Now, IWM broke outside this channel and basically just sitting here testing it as support for the last couple of days. Okay, so I'll move the channel forward a little bit, see if we keep testing it as support. And so, you know, again, it's above a 2023 high, approaching a 2024 high. But as we talked about, what are you seeing? Why is it not, a lot of people, and I'm surprised too, if you're talking about rate cuts, you figured it would react the best, right? It would be the most. But why is it struggling, right? And I think it has a lot to do with meme stocks, just like what happened when you saw SMCI here, right? SMCI is the one that went through the roof, like 250 to 1,000. It's the semiconductor stock. You saw IWM go up with it, right? And then all of a sudden it started selling down. IWM went sideways and then went down heavily. And so, of course, like I said, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, a lot of those stocks that are getting squeezed 40, 100%, 150%, these crazy numbers, right? A lot of them are on IWM, Russell 2000, okay? And so what's happening lately, though? You've seen it with GameStop and AMC and all the rest of these just crashing down, right? Big time. So IWM's going up with them. Now IWM is coming down with them somewhat, right? It's not going to be as affected as the other indexes just because those stocks, there's a lot of them. But the weights, right, they're more equally weighted on the IWM. SMCI had the heaviest weight at like 1.8%. So that's why you don't see some huge crash down. Of course, it doesn't help your index when you got stocks dropping, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50%, right, in just a matter of a day or two. Not a good thing to have. So again, that's what I think you're seeing. And don't forget SMCI, if I'm not mistaken, during the Russell reconstitution, it is in June, correct me if I'm wrong, that's when SMCI should come off against the most heavy weighters. I can't wait to see what stock they actually, if they do sub one in and have the same weight. It's going to be interesting to see and how the IWM actually responds to that. Now, another semiconductor, AMD, we had talked about, right? I couldn't believe we didn't get a bigger move when it broke outside this trend line. Well, now we got it. The last 2 days, big explosion up, gaps, fair value gaps, all left behind, but it hit something. What it hit? Always pull up your moving averages. It ran into a brick wall with the 50 and the 100 moving average, sold down a milli, which also coincides with that resistance right there. And so again, this one right here, we got to see if is it going to pull back, right, to consolidate this big move. It's about 9% in 2 days right now, after it's been, going down and been dormant for the last few days. And so we got the big move. That was the good things. But now we get to see, I want to draw this channel here to see if we're going to start forming another channel up on AMD. Again, NVIDIA, I'll say it 10 million times, the NVIDIA earnings will obviously affect all of these, right? But again, we'll see if we start getting a move down, maybe to the bottom of the channel, mid-channel, whatever it is, to digest this gigantic move right here. And so we'll see if that happens or not. Again, it would be a nice move. It'd be nice to see that. But again, I didn't get on 200-day moving average bounce. So I probably won't get that either. But again, targets on this one, 175, 180 if this continues to move up. PayPal, in this rising wedge right here, again, it's bounced multiple times. So it's like bounce or die right here because you got support right there as well. But if this drops, obviously heading down, that's for sure. So just be aware if you're sitting in PayPal, needs a bounce. Obviously it gets a bounce up, going up to 71, drops down, look for around $56, $57 on that one. Apple, all I'm going to say about Apple is this. It continues to get money rotated into it, obviously. And you can see it's been in this channel right here going back to really March of 2023. So well over a year. And you can see they're selling it when it gets to around 199 and they're buying it when it gets to 165, right? So buy side liquidity, sell side liquidity. Again, those trend lines will come into play as far as resistance and support. But if we do reach the top of this channel, watch it very carefully to see if they sell it down once again. Okay, and I think it depends on what the market's going to be doing and everything else. But again, the market's been roaring and Apple hadn't been joining in. Right, so is it finally time for Apple to break over 199 and the 200 barrier and continue to go? That's what we're going to have to find out. Obviously, tomorrow is monthly OPEX, so there will be a lot of tomfoolery in this. Sunday, I'll actually bring you a video. I'll let the members listen to the whole thing today, but I'll bring you some clips of Jim Carson coming up with it because he called the May 1 through May 15th time frame and said if we got rolling, we were going to all-time highs and through it. And so he's come up with a lot of big stuff for the next, really all the way through summer and stuff, and even through the end of the year. So really great interview. Again, I'll let you listen to that on Sunday as well. Put your question in the comments for anything you want me to figure out on Saturday for you for that one. Sunday we'll do the setup video for next week. And then talk about also what's probably going on for the summertime as well. So hope you guys got something out of it. Hit that like and subscribe button if you did. Really appreciate it on the way out. And I'll see you guys not tomorrow, Saturday. Have a good one, guys.